Welcome to Karpool with Kirsten, brought to you by Fempower, the show where extraordinary women share extraordinary stories. My guest today has spent more than 30 years inside a profession that shapes every single one of us and that almost nobody gives proper credit to. She's the founding director of Royal Kids Nursery, and she's the host and creator of the podcast Let's Talk Early Years. She's one of those rare people that will hand you her entire playbook and then ask how she can help you use it. She grew up in an environment that taught her that opportunity was a fixed pool, and that if somebody else got a piece, there would be less left for her. She spent her entire adult life proving the opposite. And she says, success doesn't shrink when you share it, it multiplies. My guest today is none other than Melonie Karriem. Melonie, welcome to the Karpool. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
How fabulous is this?
I know that.
Thank you.
Okay, let's jump straight into questions, right? First of all, if someone asks you at a dinner party what it is that you do, what do you tell them?
Oh gosh. I hope the question is not at the start of the dinner party because then we'll never get to eat. I'd like to say that I work in early years. There's this joke amongst early years educators, a running joke that we have, and we say, when we do go to a dinner party and people ask me what you do, we say, I'm a teacher. And they immediately very engaged by that statement. So where do you teach? What do you do? And when you follow up and say, oh no, I work in early years, it's kind of a little bit of a, oh, like that's less important than being an actual teacher in their perception. So I like to say that I work in early years, and that's kind of the hook for people to understand what I do.
Can we dive in a little deeper into your time in South Africa?
I'll sum it up.
Yeah.
I grew up with a little more than some and a lot less than others. That was my upbringing in South Africa. In the 80s, I was born in 1976, don't tell everybody. So the year of the Soweto uprising, 2 weeks before I was born. And so my whole life was the experience of apartheid.
You mentioned a core phrase that I just want to dive a little bit deeper into. You said that you had a little bit more than most and a little less than others. What do you mean by that?
Kirsten, we grew up in a community where we didn't know any different to the circumstance that we were in. And so we didn't know that we had less than what was outside of our homogenic community. So seeing unemployed dads, absent dads, large scale illiteracy in our community was a norm. Abuse of alcohol and drugs and all the rest of it. It was a norm in the community that I grew up with. So the mindset, I think, was the biggest impact for me in my life, was the mindset of we don't know any different, and so this is what we do.
Yeah. When you saw that for the first time, that your life was different to others out there, how did that make you feel?
I felt so ashamed. I felt so ashamed because, like I say, you don't know that you're different until people shame you for that, or until people call out your less than. They look at you, and immediately, even as a child, you can feel that they're not looking with you with intention to uplift you, but rather looking at you with intention to shame you for what you don't know, what you don't have, what you don't have access to, that sort of thing. Yeah, so shame.
Is that where the belief, that core belief that was instilled in you came from, where you believe that if someone else has success, then that takes away from yours?
This is a big one. This is a big one, and it doesn't necessarily have its roots in poverty, except that it has its roots in a poverty mindset. So I've seen people who have very little but are so generous, and I've seen people with excess, and they have this mindset that if I do well, I can't share because it takes away from me. When I look at others and they're doing well, I cannot celebrate them because that takes away from poverty itself, except that it's a poverty mindset.
So would you say that's more along the lines of people that have selfish beliefs?
Selfish beliefs, but also it's fear, Kirsten. You know, so one can't help but look at those sort of attitudes with a bit of empathy and compassion. And I say this after many years of reflection as well. You know, I can't say that I haven't judged people with that sort of behavior. And I can't also say that I haven't been that person. Because again, that mindset stays with you. That I have so little, why do I need to share? You know? So when that mindset shifts, you know, you sort of get to believe that out of my abundance, and that's not necessarily my things, out of my abundance I can give because my mindset has changed, right?
Yeah. You mentioned something about that's just that type of people. Based on your statement that you made, that you had this mentality of the poverty mentality. So that was you, like you were one of those people. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
How or when did that conscious choice come in that you no longer have those beliefs instilled in you and you have the abundance mentality?
Right. I think again it comes from being exposed to other women who think differently, who move differently, who behave differently. You kind of look at that and something about their behavior resonates with the inside of you, you know, and so you move from that place of fear. So I want to say to you, I have met women who have generously given to my life, sown into my life, without looking at what can I give back to them, what can I do for them. And that behavior changed who I became. So I think that if each one of us does that sort of reflection as women, you know, that my behavior, my tone, my walk, my smile, my gesture would impact another woman positively, you know, and every success that I have is dependent on my ability to help someone else succeed. Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask you a personal question?
Please.
When you were given by the first woman abundantly without expecting anything in return, was there a period where you felt like you didn't deserve it and questioned why it was being given to you?
Absolutely. You and I spoke about imposter syndrome. Yeah. This is big. This is huge. I think very many of us, particularly I did, you know, having grown up with racial prejudice, I didn't know where my place was in society. So when these opportunities do come your way, you do have this suspicion. But again, suspicion is rooted in fear, right? You have this suspicion of why are you doing this for me? What do you want from me? Because that's what we grew up with. This was the mindset we grew up with. This was the environment that we grew up in. So seeing that is hard. It's hard to accept even today. You know, it's hard to sometimes accept a compliment without following up with another compliment, right?
Yeah.
So people will say, "Oh,
That's
you look
so true.
amazing." You're like, "Oh no, you look amazing," right? And so we kind of deflect the attention from ourselves. But that is, it's graceful to accept that and to affirm oneself for how far you've come. You know, I think we're such critics of ourselves, Kirsten.
Yeah.
We never take the time to tell ourselves, well done, girl. You know, look how far you've come. You know, I again, you know, I've had to learn that, to say to myself, Melonie, girlfriend, look at where Innerdale is from where you are today. And I mean, where I come from is, I don't even know if it's on Google Maps, Kirsten. small little town so far out of Johannesburg, but we've never really arrived, have we? You know, that place of arrival doesn't exist. It's just a change of circumstance. And when we arrive at that place, at that next level, it requires a different version of us, right? And so being at that next level also asks, who is the woman that's arrived at this place? How did you get here? Do you know how you got here? You didn't get here by yourself. None of us are self-made.
Yeah.
None of us. contribute to the people whose lives have impacted us. Every phone call, every opportunity, every kind gesture is another person who opened the door for us, spoke a good word for us, spoke in rooms where we were perhaps not present. So I never want to say that I've arrived, look at me now. No, but I am someone to say, look how far you've come, and how far can you reach back?
You said so many things that I want to talk about. I'm so excited.
Let's go for it.
Okay, one of the things that you mentioned is about when you get to a different stage of your life, it requires a whole new version of yourself, which is so valid. But obviously, let's speak from an entrepreneurial perspective first. When you're building and there's constantly a new idea, constantly a new structure, maybe a new company, a new partnership, you're just chasing constantly, and you never celebrate the success because in your mind, well, everyone's clapping for your achievements. You see the bigger picture, you see the vision, and you just keep running towards that direction. It's unhealthy because you're never giving yourself a pat on the back to say, well done. Look at how far you came and what you've accomplished. How does a woman overcome that constant need for evolution and make peace and contentment with the stage that they are in now?
Oh, that is such a profound question. Lovely question. I think, Kirsten, we need to go back to why. The why of what we do, why we do what we do. If we can remain focused on the why, the vision is very clear. We don't become distracted with all the opportunities or fantastic moments that come our way or ideas, because we're creatives, right? Ideas are always there and ideas are always evolving in our minds, and people are attracted to success. So people are always approaching one and saying, I've got this great idea and I've got that great idea. And so you need to be able to look at what is the why of what I'm doing, and do these ideas and opportunities align with my why?
Yeah.
So knowing oneself, being true to my why, really articulates where we end up, where we go. It's a clear directive to the next level in our businesses, in our personal lives even.
Yeah. Business perspective. Obviously, you said that when you get approached by different people to market. So, do you then add on to the company by developing other structures, like bettering the whole dynamic, or then do you go in and problem solve with the current standard that exists today?
I think it's a little bit of both, right? My work, outside of my career, I have a platform that I created, again, from this place of wanting to create a space for others not to feel as if they are imposters, because I once did feel that way. I once was rejected in the community that I work in, and so it started out as a podcast, because that's where my gifting lies. I'm able to speak really well, but more than that, I'm able to bring people together.
Yeah.
And so I took the mic and never stopped talking, which reminds me, you need to call me for time, okay?
We're good. Don't worry about it.
So started a podcast, and it was fantastic, and it's still fantastic, but I read the need of the community there, and it was that we need connection. And so out of that, we created events for women, an annual conference, and it's fantastic. I'm energized from those events, but those are moments, Kirsten. Those are moments, and people need more. And so I created a newsletter and a blog, and so it's constantly evolving, again, based on my why. Why am I doing what I'm doing? The idea is always to give back from the abundance that I have. And I'm not talking about things, I'm talking about the network that I have, the knowledge that I have, the experience that I have, and the experience of the other people that I have. I know such phenomenal women in Dubai who are in no way related to early years education, but they just keep pouring. They just keep pouring into me as a person, into my vision, and I'm just, so a little bit of strategy, a bit of reflection, a bit of going back to the drawing board and saying, yes, we remain true to our why, but our why is expanded. Can we bring other people on board? You know, can we make room for more people at the table?
Yeah.
Right?
Let's talk about the podcast for a second. Let's talk about the years. How did that come into your mind? What was the inspiration? How did this just became like, we're going to the studio today, I'm going to start a podcast, I'm never going to stop talking? What happened?
Oh, it was one moment and then some. Okay, so it's a bit of a long story.
I have time.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a long story. Let me say, I was in need of some help, some advice, some connection with contemporaries, and I wasn't finding that. So I reached out to a few people. I suggested a night out, you know, with people who work in the same industry as I do, and all but one person showed up that evening. You know, that it hurt, it absolutely hurt, but I do understand people have lives outside of, you know, the work that we do, and working in early years, working in school leadership is a very lonely role. So I wanted community. I craved community. I also felt like when we do get together, all we do is vent about our work. We never spend time to get to know the hearts of one another and the lives of one another. So the idea for a podcast.
You mentioned about rejection. I want to touch on that for a second because I heard something recently that said rejection is an unexplored or underexplored emotion. And I really resonated with that because I personally am a fan of rejection. And I think maybe that there's something a little bit wrong with me because of this, but I love when I get rejected. Whether someone tells me your company won't work, your business is going to flop, I think of that as fuel to the fire. Like, let me show you how this works. Let me show you how successful I can be. Let me make sure that it's in your face constantly so you know that I was right. Was this something that you also carried with you, or were you the type that was like, shoot, okay, this is not going to work because someone told me it's not going to work?
I think I just needed to sit in that moment, you know, and I think it's important for people to take the time to have the moment, but then to realize when to move on from that place.
Yeah.
Because bitterness and anger, etc., has a way of changing our stories, and so that's not a place we want to stay. But we need to be able to sit in that place and understand the why of that moment. You know, why did this happen? What is the good that I can take from it? And so, like I was saying to you, I took from that moment not a I'll show you that I can do this, more of a I need this, and so I'm going to create this. Yeah. So that was the space that I started the platform from.
But when everyone but one person showed up, honestly, like, you must have felt a little bit, correct me if I'm wrong, like a little bit like embarrassed or like...
Absolutely. All of those things. Embarrassed,
Yeah.
rejected, sad, you know, absolutely. I felt marginalized, you know,
Yeah.
like, why don't they like me? Is it because they don't like me? And I'm a grown woman,
Yeah.
you know, but we all have this desire to belong. All of us have a desire to belong. But it's understanding that not everyone is for you. Not every conversation is for you. Not every business deal is for you. Not every opportunity is for you. Not every friend is for you. Not every business partner is for you. You have to know yourself personally. You have to know your why. And so from that place, you can only but go up. Yeah. So starting at that place was for me, I want this, I'm going to create this, and I'm sure there are at least 10,000 people out there who would like to join the journey, and they have.
I love this because someone that I spoke to recently, starting a business and they came to me and they asked me for advice and they said, how do I know that this is going to work? My answer to them, first of all, I'm completely team be delusional, because why is there a limit on your capabilities or the possibilities that can come into your life? But in a sense, there's 8 billion people on this planet. You telling me that you can't get 10,000, you can't get 100 clients? Five clients? Statistically, that's surely impossible. Also, if you're putting in the work, enough of it, consistently, it's almost impossible for there not to be any level of success, because it's not humanly possible.
Again, go back to your why.
Yeah.
Why are you doing what you're doing? At the foundation of it all, there's a human factor. At the foundation of every business, everything we do needs to impact society. Whether it's buying a Diet Coke, starting a healthcare brand, starting a podcast, every service we create, every business we create serves mankind. So when we start our businesses, what is the why of
Yeah.
what you're doing? Yeah.
Absolutely. Based on early years, let's talk early years. At the Royal Nursery, you have enough kids, and it's really important to them. So where did this come from? How did this shape the way that you are today? What inspired your love for the early generation, as opposed to our generation?
See, this is a question no one ever asks me.
And it's really important one too, because I love to know why people do what they do. If it's their core mission in life, why?
Kirsten, I needed a job, and so my mom brought home this newspaper for my mom who worked in city center, and so they had this community newspaper that one of her colleagues brought to work, and my mom was like, maybe scan the classifieds and see if you can pick up an opportunity, and I did. It was an opportunity for a teaching assistant at a school so far from where I stayed, but they also offered an opportunity to pay for my studies. So problem solved,
Yeah.
you know, completely. I mean, this was like the dream job, except they paid me just enough or less than what was my monthly transport to get to school and back every day. So my career literally started as a teaching assistant, washing the paintbrushes, mopping the bathrooms, cleaning the tables, listening to the teacher, the class teacher, about what she wanted done for the next day, and I just grew from there.
Can I ask you something? Because every single entrepreneur that I speak to, what you were earning wasn't enough to cover what you were putting out. Was there an echo or voice inside of you that told you this is something that you need to stick to?
Okay, Kirsten, this comes back to the time and the space that I was in. There weren't many choices, there weren't many options. So jobs were few and far between, and I want to say this, this opportunity was in a school of a different demographic to what I grew up in. It was the hugest opportunity of my lifetime. So did I go there every day in the hopes that someone would see me and recognize me and help me?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. But the question about leaving or quitting didn't exist for me. It was not an option for me, right?
Okay. I'm just trying to understand the backstory, right? Okay. Grew up in South Africa, got the teaching assistant position, barely cover anything. How did we get here?
You know, I sit here and reflecting on that, I'm just filled with so much gratitude, absolute gratitude for the people who come along my life, who've seen me, valued me, who've given so generously to me without asking for anything in return. People who really wanted to see me succeed in life, you know. So they were not easy times, Kirsten. I will never say that I had it easy. I will never say that it was overnight success, because really what is an overnight success? You know, this is 30 years in the making, 30 years of studying while I was working, starting a little business on the side, while I was going to work every day. So that desire for better, for more, was always on the inside of me. But I also knew that it wasn't coming. I had to go out and get it, you know. So from baking muffins and selling them to the ladies in the taxi in the afternoon, selling Tupperware, Avon, Average Lane, every kind of subscription. I was doing it all, you know. Holiday clubs in my mom's garden, holiday clubs at the school that I was employed at. I was doing every kind of extra job to put myself through a qualification and to eventually get to a place where I could earn a bit more and be confident in who I am, in what I know, in a career that I was building, inadvertently building.
And obviously, when you had gone through all these things and have been given the platform now that you have, is there a part of you that looks back on that little girl and says, like, we did it?
We absolutely did. I'm telling that girl right now, we did it.
Oh, I'm so proud of you. I want to play a rapid fire with you, if that's okay. Okay? Question, you answer.
Okay.
One word for the first day of nursery.
Scary.
Okay. Most overrated thing in early childhood education.
Risk.
Most underrated.
Play.
I agree with that. We don't play enough anymore. I personally love like the play areas. I say it's for my kids, but it's for me too. But slides are really fun. Best advice that you've been given by another woman.
When you walk through the door, hold it open for someone else.
Worst advice you've ever been given about running a business.
You can't.
Right? Says who? Who are you to tell me?
No.
Right? Screens, hill that you'll die on, or it depends. As in, what will you die on? Like say that no one can argue, no one can change your opinions.
That early years educators deserve the respect and all the accolades for the work that they do.
One thing that you ban from every nursery to what?
Educators lack a why for what they do.
I agree with this. One question before I go to this. How do you screen good educators versus like a CV but practical skills?
Oh man, I have a whole series of podcasts about this.
Okay, give me a short answer.
It's not easy. It's not a short answer because a CV is not the full story. One interview is not the full story. Bringing someone in for practical experience is not the whole story. So a whole induction series has to take place before one can actually be certain that you've got the right person on it. And it's so crucial because we're working with other human beings, right?
Yeah. Okay. Finish the sentence. Children don't need adults who are perfect. They need adults who are
Mindful.
I want to speak to you a little bit about being mindful because it seems something that's inspiring me. Do you feel like when we were growing up in South Africa, our parents were very mindful about how they spoke to us and treated us, etc., and how did you have to consciously change that from happening into the overflow relationship?
I want to tell you again just so many stories. So many stories.
For those of you who don't know, like growing in South Africa with your parents, it's not like what we experience today. Like a slipper in your hand. Yes.
They whopped us.
And a wooden
They whopped us.
no shame about it. Like rulers in the classroom as
Slipper.
well.
Yes, Kirsten. I think everything my parents said were from a place of the capacity that they had. were from a place of the experiences that they had had. And because they grew up in lack and insufficiency and poverty and just sameness, their ability to parent us and to steward us as children was minimal, you know. And so I have a wonderful grace and respect and forgiveness for my parents. And again, this took a whole journey, you know, for how they raised us, for the things that they said to us and the things that they did to us and the things they didn't do for us. You know, we grew up with parents who didn't necessarily hug us or tell us that they loved us. My dad never said that he loved us. We would say that to him when we got older, and he would say, okay, thank you. But let's show us, you know, in the things that they did. So our love languages evolved over the years, and our understanding of their capacity was tantamount to who we became as people. Yeah.
I love what you just said. I just want to touch base quickly. Understanding that someone's capacity and not taking it personally, that's just all they are capable of, all they are growing of, giving and receiving in that moment. Yes. Yeah. Is that then something that you apply to like other people in your life? So if someone that you think is really nice, but they aren't capable of showing you that level of support, is that like something that you say, okay, you don't have access to me, or okay, that's your capacity?
It's a little bit of both. Again, you know, understanding who that person is to you gives you the ability then to make that decision. You know, if it's someone that you really want to invest in and really feel that it's someone that needs what you are able to give, then of course I would pour into that and I would accept that and would have empathy with that. But you also need to have the ability to spot and to recognize people who are by choice not showing up as their best selves and expecting you to fill in the gaps. And so that is in relationships, in the workplace, you know, in our homes. We need to understand, we need to be able to recognize, you know, that yes, this is your capacity, or are you just lazy?
Yeah.
Are you just not showing up as your best self?
Well, I mean, being selective of people that can't show up as their best self for you, do you then make the conscious choices that you don't have access to me anymore because this isn't how I want to receive or be given love? Is this something
I have at times had to make those tough decisions, you know, because remember, you are just one person, right? And you do need to protect your energy, and you do need to protect where your attention goes, because out of what I have on the inside of me, out of my capacity, I need to be able to give to the people who are depending on me as well.
Yeah.
So I have to make a conscious decision about how much I invest into all this stuff.
I love this. I spoke about this recently as well, and I said that energy is sacred, and that if you only have X amount in your tank, why would you give it to someone that doesn't deserve it? Because you're taking away from yourself and you're giving it into someone else's. You're multiplying their supply and increasing yours, but it makes no sense. And you can't go from income, so you aren't okay. How do you expect to make sure that someone else is okay? Is it something that you have to like deal with or have moved
Constantly.
Okay.
In my work, I'm notorious for making recruitment decisions based on my heart. You know, I love to champion the underdog. I love it, you know, but it hasn't necessarily stood me in good stead.
Sometimes you make mistakes.
Absolutely. And so again, coming back to how do you know it's the right person? Have other people on a panel. Have other people join you in making these decisions.
Yeah.
You know, because if we see things from one perspective, and I tell you honestly, I see things with my heart. I always see the need. How can I help you? How can I coach you? How can I mentor you? But that's not necessarily a good space to make decisions from. We need to be
sometimes they aren't
strategic.
deserving of us as well,
I agree.
right?
Yes, I agree.
And because you've obviously, sometimes you can also be manipulated by people pretending to be a certain way, playing the underdog role, knowing that you are susceptible to that, and then completely doing you over.
Yeah.
What does it feel like when you've actually been bamboozled? Let's say.
It's so hurtful, right? It's so hurtful because again, you give from a place of generosity. You give from a place of empathy and kindness, you know. So I think it's hurtful, but I think the growth moment from that space is understanding again, why did I do it? Did I do it to fulfill a need within myself? Or did I genuinely extend a hand of help because I wanted to see that person empowered? So there's a question and a pause for reflection for ourselves, right? Because we need to question our egos and the decisions we make.
Speaking of egos being bruised because of certain decisions that backfired on you, what do you think about revenge?
I don't believe in revenge, actually.
Okay, elaborate.
Kirsten, I think revenge stems again from a place of fear. Stems from a place of, I just think it stems from a negative space. You know, that I want to see you get your own back. I have so much good in my life. I have so many amazing things and people and opportunities come my way that I definitely can't spend my time or my energy, like you were saying earlier. My energy is so sacred. I certainly cannot spend my energy in hoping to inflict some kind of comeuppance on someone else. You know, I'm of the opinion, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and move on.
I love this because, I mean, you know a little bit about my backstory as well. I used to ask why don't you do anything to get back at anyone that wronged you, or why I never spoke up about the things that when it happened. And I always said that I don't feel the need to make even with anyone because I believe that if I live every day with a clean slate, a clear conscience, it will be given unto me. And even when there's like dips in life, I know that it will rise again purely of the fact that you're living in a way that your conscience is clear and you're only putting out good karma into the world. And I think that that's why I ask you about revenge, because oftentimes you see people that's been scorned, whether that's in love or relationships, friendships, business, you name it. Their first instinct, human being, is anger. That's your reaction. Anger or disappointment. And those two are the fuels for revenge.
But it can be fuel for something else too, right?
But it takes a lot of strength to have the mentality that you don't need to be. And a lot of people have that mentality of that they want them to feel the way that they feel, right? And I think that stems from, like you said, making peace. Like just letting it go. You don't have enough time during the day to like worry about how I'm going to inflict pain on this person, how I'm going to cause a mess in this person's life. Focus on bettering your own, watering your own garden, seeing that house on the maps. And I can tell that that's someone that you like because needs to be just full of positive radiance, good energy. And I know that when you were in the circumstances in South Africa, that wasn't the case. And I know that must have taken immense growth and immense determination in order to be this version of you that you are today. And I just want to say on behalf of developmentally that we're so proud of you for the journey that you've gone through, the person that you are today, and all the good work that you do to the next generation. So before we close, I want to know if this is the only podcast that everyone listens to for the entire year, what would you want us to take away from this conversation?
South African women are the kind of friends you want to have. These are two South African women who have come a long way to do not only for themselves, but for the world outside of them. So that's the first thing. If you only take one thing away from this conversation, is that A, South African women are your go-to-girls. And secondly, don't underestimate the power of an authentic community. You, like me, like every other woman out there, needs other women.
such a pleasure talking to you about your story and learning some of the things that you've gone through and your insights on all the obstacles that you've gone through. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
I loved it. I love all of this. This is so fantastic. I love it. Thank you.
If you'd like to connect with Melonie, the details will be listed in the description. This has been Karpool, Kirsten, Multiplies, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss what's next podcast episode. And until then, remember, success doesn't shrink when you share, it multiplies. See you next time. Okay, team, it's